Hey guys, a quick update on my Arcade1Up Pinball FX3 based cabinet build. I did a bit of an upgrade on my GPU with another one that I had laying around the house. It's not really anything fancy, but my system, as you may know from a prior video series, is using an OptiPlex 9020, which is quick enough for Pinball FX3. Problem is that it is very limited to the options of GPUs that you can install on it. And that's due to the location of the PCI Express slot, in particular the 16X, as well as the power delivery ratings from Dell. It is limited to, according to them, it is limited to 50 watts, so not something you want to kind of push. And I don't know, I don't think that's a virtue of the power supply itself, only because the power supply in there should be more than capable of pushing a 75 watt GPU. So I wanted to install something that was as near as possible to that limit. And one thing that I've done is when I test some of those video cards, I check the power draw on them, and even at 100% GPU utilization for, you know, minutes, if not half an hour to an hour at a time, if I notice that they are well below their manufacturer ratings, then I think they're game. So the GPU that I was already using for driving my playfield was a Quadro K620, and that was sufficient, except that I had some issues that I might have mentioned in my prior videos, where some of the flybys or flyovers, when you first enter one of the tables, it tended to have a little bit of choppiness and lag every now and then if they had some pretty intense animations. Good examples of them were Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, basically the flyover that shows Darth Vader at the beginning, as well as Alien vs. Predator, the flyover towards the left side showing the Predator and then right side showing the Alien. And the actual table itself, the playfield, would look a little choppy as well when it was kind of just zooming by. So I wanted to address that based on the limitations that I had for my system. And a K2200 seemed like a proper upgrade. It is effectively about twice as powerful as the K620. Definitely has roughly 80% more compute units. So, and the memory bandwidth on it is a little bit higher as well. And it should give me the additional boost that I need to make sure that my gaming is a little bit smoother. Another thing that I wanted to address wasn't just the choppiness, but occasionally the physics seemed to lag a little bit. And that was especially noticeable in on tables that do weird color shifts, or the ball turns like specific like textures and things like that. So once that happens, the flippers seem a little laggy, and obviously you don't want that when you're playing virtual pinball. Just kind of going through some of the pictures I took of the inside of my cabinet just to show you what the layout is. And what I'll do is I'll show you also on the screen the specific PCI Express riser that I purchased to be able to achieve this. And that was the key to this project. It was finding a riser with the right amount of length for the cable that allowed me to move the card outside of the case and left basically in that wedged in area. Now, the way that I install the card and the bracket and all that, it's not the greatest, but it works. It's being held down pretty good. You may want to spend a little more time planning that layout out or do it differently. My biggest recommendation is, if you're starting from scratch, just plan your actual PC system to be appropriate to handle the GPU that you need, versus kind of like what I did, where I was just going with spare parts and a spare PC that I had laying around. It works, saves you a lot of money if you do it that way, but then there's a couple of things you have to do, extra steps like what I'm doing right now. As a side note, and this is mostly because a lot of people had been complaining about the Williams version of the Arcade1Up table. The game Whitewater is horrible. I think that is basically just buggy, poorly optimized code. And even with this upgrade, that game doesn't play very well on this PC. And this PC is magnitudes more powerful than the little board that Arcade1Up includes with their Arcade1Up pinball cabinets. Needless to say, it's not Arcade1Up's fault. Zen dropped the ball on Whitewater. I don't know what's going on with that table. You can't even play it. The physics are wrong. The table has a lot of choppiness to it. You can tell as soon as you start playing the game, you can tell there's something going on, like horribly wrong. So avoid that table regardless of whether you're playing on the PC or you're playing on the actual Arcade1Up Williams pinball cabinet. So I'm pretty happy with the upgrade. This was something that I was already planning a while back, and I wasn't sure if I was just going to swap the whole machine or not, but this didn't just save me a lot of money, because, you know, the PCI riser is a lot cheaper than a whole new system, but it also allows me to repurpose things, systems that already had in place. And I'm a huge fan of repurposing, PC recycling, that sort of thing. It's especially in this day and age of parts and components being very scarce and difficult to find. Anytime you can repurpose any component and use it to its max potential is a win. So I hope this was helpful. Again, you can sort of plan your build out whichever way you want, but this is one of those tips if you are using a very similar system as I am and you are also being held back by its limitations. So there's options, you can do this. Just make sure that you find a GPU that doesn't require external power, nor does it require too high of a wattage rating for the PCI Express slot. So if you found this video helpful, feel free to like, subscribe, drop any questions down in the comments. I tend to answer them fairly quick. Sometimes it might take a few days, but any questions you have, just let me know. Thanks for watching.